Welcome to another episode of the Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council Media Briefing. This week, the Secretary of Tourism and Transportation, Tracy Davidson Celestine, and the Secretary of Settlements and Labour, Dion Isaac, addressed the media.
In November of 2014, a delegation comprising of the Chief Administrator, the Assistant Secretary of the Division of Infrastructure and Public Utilities, Assemblyman Handel Beckles, including myself, would have gone on a study program to the United Kingdom for a week relating to integrity in public life. The main aim of that program was the establishing and promoting of sustainable and ethical infrastructure in public life, making a positive contribution to fighting corruption in public life. And at present, as we speak, a report is being compiled and prepared to submit to Executive Council on that particular trip. Given the recent massive downfall in oil prices, I think that event now solidifies our decision as an Executive Council to vigorously pursue the option of private-public partnership for affordable housing units in Tobago for Tobagonians. And this year will see activity on that particular issue on the ground. Also in the Department of Labour, as it relates to our labour supply and labour demand in Tobago, we are commencing today a labour supply survey. This is geared towards developing our labour information database systems, as well as to have an application and an appreciation for the island's manpower needs. This will also aid the Department of Advanced and Advisory Services, formerly known as Financial Assistance Unit, to better assist and advise Tobagonians who are seeking financial assistance to pursue tertiary education.
First and foremost, I would want to speak to the Gull Flight that will be arriving in Tobago at the A&R Robinson Airport for the first time on January 31st, 2015. I am sure by now you are all aware that arrangement will be taking place. It is a flight that will be shared with our neighboring country, Barbados. The official launch of the flight will take place this Thursday, which is tomorrow, the 15th, in Sao Paulo. And the team has gone to Brazil in Sao Paulo, a team from the division headed by the administrator of the Division of Tourism and Transportation, for both the signing ceremony and, of course, to announce the launch of the flight to destination Tobago. Apart from that, they will be conducting a number of different marketing initiatives with a view to continuing the forging of relationships with our trade and business partners. That team also includes members of the private sector as well, representatives from the THTA, as well as the Tobago Tourism and Hotel Institute. And as I said, the flight starts weekly from January 31st, and there will be one stop in Barbados. Now, one of the things that I want to put out to the public is that this flight opens up significant opportunities here for us on the island. Of course, Tobago can very well be a hub for activities between Trinidad and Tobago and Brazil. And I say this because of the cost of the fares going into Brazil at this time. We have introductory fares of US $599 and, of course, $235 for economy, so to speak. And then, of course, there is the premium economy. And also because of the distance. If you travel to Trinidad to Brazil, it takes somewhere in the vicinity of about 9 or possibly 10 hours. And if you go directly from Tobago to Brazil, it is about a 7-hour flight, which significantly reduces the time that one takes to fly to Brazil. So we see this flight as very important for destination Tobago because it facilitates tourism I would have mentioned in earlier discussions that Sao Paulo alone has over 200,000 divers, and of course you know that one of the areas that Tobago targets is in diving. Speyside is the home to the largest brain coral in the Western Hemisphere, and we have quite a lot of beaches on the western side of the island which are very significant in terms of diving and even in snorkeling. And so this for us opens up the possibilities for tourism on the island. It opens up the possibilities for sport tourism. Tobago plays football. Brazil is well known for football. And we feel that we can have partnerships, we can have collaboration with sporting entities in Brazil and also in Tobago, and allow for sport interchanges between both islands. Apart from that, there is the opportunity for educational tourism as well. And I must add that we would have received a proposal from one of the educational institutes out of Brazil. They have put forward a proposal to the Chief Secretary and to the Tobago Hospitality and Tourism Institute with a view to having exchanges in programs, so to speak. So there is one representative from THTI who is a part of the mission to Brazil as we speak. So it opens up endless opportunities for us. We have been in discussions for well over a year and a half with a view to having this flight. And I am really, asking the Tobago public to be ready to receive the Brazilians, and of course, and also to capitalize on the endless opportunities that this opens for Destination Tobago and for Brazil. And more so, this flight provides a connection to Barbados as well. And so there can be now direct movement from Barbados to Tobago, something which we really have never had in the past. And so, we're asking the Tobagonians to be a part and to give support and to collaborate with us as we move forward in this regard. We have also been doing quite a lot of work in the market. We have been engaging THTI, who have now ensured that they have conversational Portuguese on their curriculum, and they will be training quite a number of our stakeholder partners, members of staff in the Division of Tourism and Transportation. The training will be for the taxi drivers as well, and most of the people who interface with our Brazilians or who intend to interface with the Brazilians. I am told that the training starts on Monday, 19th of January, and it goes until we are sufficiently satisfied that our persons can interact with the Brazilians. And already there is conversational Spanish on the THTI agenda. And we in the Division of Tourism and Transportation are very pleased with this arrangement as we continue to facilitate flights to the destination and to open up Tobago for all of us to benefit. I also want to talk about the launch of the Jazz Festival 2015, which takes place on Monday, the 19th of January, where we will be announcing some of our headline acts. Last year, we were able to achieve the objectives that were outlined in terms of visitor arrivals to the destination, both from the domestic market and the international market. And we are hoping to maintain and in most instances to surpass those objectives as well for the 2015 period. Of significant importance to me and to the division is the contribution that Jazz Festival makes to the economy of Tobago, creating employment, entrepreneurship, and contributing financially to the destination. And so again, we are working very hard to ensure that the 2015 Jazz Festival is a jazz experience, is a success, and to also iron out those challenges that we would have had in the past. We know that we had some chaotic traffic situations last year, and already we are trying to put systems in place along with the police officers to ensure that we mitigate and to iron out those challenges as much as possible. I want to move to the area of cruise development on the island and to indicate to the public that for the 2014-2015 cruise season, Tobago will see more than 200% increase in guests when compared to 2013 and the 2014 period. And for 2013 to 2014, we had about approximately 20 calls, which really amounted to about 19,000 guests. And this year, we will be seeing 45 calls with over 61,000 passengers coming to the destination. And this would have been attributed to a strategic shift in the strategy of the Division of Tourism and Transportation, where we're now trying to woo the European lines to the destination, and we're moving away from the American ships. And, you know, when we look at the cruise sector in the Caribbean, we see that the U.S. ships dominate. But however, we believe that the strategy of focusing solely on the European ships will go well in fostering our cruise tourism arrivals, so to speak. And I would have mentioned in earlier times that there will be 4 new vessels coming to the destination, and the last of those vessels will be here on the 21st of January 2015. For this particular season, we have estimated that cruise visitor arrivals to the destination will contribute approximately $1.5 million to the destination of Tobago, which really amounts to about 10 million TT dollars for that particular period. So the point I'm making here is that cruise is making its contribution to the development to Tobago. There are taxi drivers who are benefiting, people who are benefiting who are in the craft, who sell food vendors, as well as the craft vendors, and all the tour operators are benefiting from this money. And the money is really circulating and getting down to the small man in the economy. And as I speak about that, I really want to talk about the importance of cruise in light of the falling oil prices. And of course, we know when we have those kind of challenges, it is really the tourism sector that helps to boost the economy in a number of different ways. And so it is really important that Tobagonians, Trinidad and Tobagonians give the necessary support, and also that the central government understands the importance of providing the resources to the Tobago House of Assembly and the people of Tobago in moving the tourism sector forward. And, you know, I want to take the opportunity to once again appeal to the Prime Minister and her team to facilitate the arrangements with Caribbean Airlines. For some time now, we have been having discussions with Caribbean Airlines with a view to sorting out the issues on the domestic air bridge. We have been having meetings, but to date, we are not very clear in terms of the strategy or the approach that will see the end to the challenges that we currently face on the domestic air bridge. Recently, Caribbean Airlines would have announced a new strategic direction which spoke to more flights to Trinidad and daily flights. As a matter of fact, we have not heard any mention about Tobago in that area. And so we continuously have challenges with Caribbean Airlines. If it is that tourism is the sector that is likely to bring in the foreign exchange or the revenue, foreign revenues, we have to ensure that we focus our efforts and our energies towards ironing out these issues. Where are we with the announcement that was made by the Minister of Finance some 2 years ago about the designated development areas for Tobago and areas that will see more investment for the island? And I'm really asking at this point that that budget speech that was made highlighting that this will be done for Tobago, that it will be put into effect. Those pleas that we would have made to the Minister of Transport with a view to ironing out the issues at the port have also really gone unnoticed. We see now that cruise ships are getting bigger. Cruise ships are now holding 4,000 and 6,000 passengers, and Tobago at this time can only attract cruise ships with 2,000 and 3,000 passengers. Currently, we can't go over that. Most of the Caribbean islands are moving towards expanding their ports. They are creating deeper depths, and Tobago has not been able to compete along those lines for some time now. And these are some of the challenges that we continue to face as a destination, some of the challenges that we continue to face as we try our very best to move tourism forward. So as this is happening in the economy where the oil prices have, really slumped, and I'm hearing from the Minister of Finance in Saudi Arabia that it may go down to $20 per barrel. What will be our position here in Trinidad and Tobago? And so we really have to give support to the tourism sector as much as possible. I'm asking all Tobagonians to be more responsible, to be more accommodating, and more so I'm asking the central government to assist us in Tobago in sorting out the challenges that we continuously face at this time as we try to add new products, to maintain flights, to encourage new flights, and to increase marketing on the island. So, on to other matters, I want to remind the public that we have the opening of the Kendall Aquatic Center swimming pool tomorrow at 5 o'clock at Kendall, and we're inviting the public to come and experience a historic opening of a new facility in the East. It is the first public swimming pool in Tobago East. It opens up opportunities for sporting development, physical development, not only for school-age children, but for our seniors and young people as well. This is a flagship project. I am in high support of such an initiative as we seek to develop our Tobagonians in a developing Tobago. And last but by no means least, I want to remind the public that the condolence book is available and is still open for signing on behalf of the former Minister of National Security. And that condolence book is currently located at the office of the presiding officer at Jerningham Street, Scarborough, Tobago. So we ask that Tobagonians go out and pay their respects by signing the condolence book, because we know former Minister of National Security, Mr. Martin Joseph, would have made a significant contribution to Trinidad and Tobago, and he is arguably one of the best ministers of national security, so to speak.
Is there a threat in terms of the delivery of houses from the Tobago House of Assembly in light of the drop in oil and gas prices? Will there be any cutbacks?
What we intend to do is to beef up the initiative, the option of engaging private-public partnership initiatives. And as I said, you're going to see a lot more activity on the ground this year to that effect.
In terms of the lifeguards, I know you also sent out a release regarding the construction of new lifeguard facilities at beaches and so on. What's the timeline, and how soon can we expect to see these popping up at the various beaches that were mentioned in the release? Well,
pretty soon, because we have basically finalized the architectural, what do you call those, the architectural drawings for most of those facilities, and we will be going into tendering as soon as from next week. And after that, you will see the commencement of construction of lifeguard facilities across the island on bathable beaches.
Mr. Isaac, you mentioned the public-private partnership approach to dealing with housing in Tobago going into the future. And you seem to have linked it to falling out oil prices, so which means that the question of the financial state of the economy kicks in. Now, recently a procurement bill was passed in Parliament, which I understand repeals the a previous one there, the tendering. There's a tendering bill. What was the Assembly's response to that bill? I understand it's not been ascended to yet, but it's already debated in High and Lower House. What was the Assembly's response to that bill, given that that particular sector you're dealing with interacts heavily with procurement? And secondly, what do you really mean by public-private partnership. Could you just kind of explain to me a little more what you really mean by that?
Public-private partnership is an initiative whereby the government or the governing body would have the property. So in this instance, the Tobago House of Assembly has the land, and we will go out seeking to find investors, companies who have the cash, who have the capital to put the infrastructure down and to put the housing units down. And then after that is done, then the potential homeowners purchase the properties. So that's the type of initiative, that's the type of financing modality that we are considering at this present point in time. We are still in the Tobago House of Assembly looking in detail of the bill. So we have not made a firm decision as to how we are going to approach it.
You indicated that the training in Portuguese will formally commence next week, I think. That will just be a few days before your inaugural flight. Mm-hmm. So how long has the Assembly been thinking about tapping into this market?
Well, we have been thinking about tapping into the market for approximately 2 years or possibly more. And so arrangements have been put in place. The THTI, the Institute, has been mandated to ensure that there is a very widespread of training in Portuguese on the island. And they have now formally launched that program. That does not say that persons within the divisions or Division of Tourism and Transportation are not familiar with Portuguese. Most of them speak Spanish, which is also a language that is understood by the Brazilian market. So Portuguese being added complements the Spanish language, and most of them are very versed in Spanish as we speak. Even taxi drivers too have been trained in Spanish. So this really complements and is an addition to what we're trying to achieve.
You know, Madam Secretary, I'm getting increasingly concerned about what's happening with the tourism and as it relates to interacting with citizens. Right. I've noticed that in some instances when these flights touch down, a bus or a convoy will pick them up, take them to some destination, and everything is taken care of. Food, tours, whatever. Hardly any interaction with the people on the ground. Is that what is going to be happening, or are we going to be seeing where the locals will be excited to learn Portuguese and Spanish as well, so as to change the paradigm shift a bit in that tourism sector? Well,
yes, and that is why the THTI has been mandated to ensure that Portuguese is a part of their curriculum, because THTI trains over 5,000 persons on a yearly basis. And so if you have it at THTI, it is now for the wider public. And so it is really now a call for residents of Tobago to take up the language of Portuguese. We encourage community tourism as much as possible. And yes, you may see a bus based on the organized tours coming to pick up people, guests at the airport. But then our statistics show that over 65% of the persons do not take packages. They prefer to find their own accommodation. Villages like Castara, Charlottesville, those places are well subscribed in terms of visitors. Englishman's Bay, Bloody Bay, over 12,000 persons visit Bloody Bay Beach alone last year, and these are largely foreigners. So the point is that they are interacting with the communities. They like that very authentic and very intimate environment, and they are accessing the communities as much as possible.
We got the impression coming out of meetings between the Cabinet and the Executive Council, another committee, I think there are 2 committees, we really got the impression that there was going to be some light beyond the tunnel after that. And I'm hearing from you now that it appears as though no real traction is taking place. And this particular issue showed itself again recently.
There have been discussions with Caribbean Airlines. We have gone to the point where there is a task force that was appointed that will look specifically at the challenges at the domestic air bridge, so to speak. But while we may be given the assurance that the matters will be dealt with and there will be a heat map and those kind of things that will determine when most flights are needed, like during the peak times around Easter and Christmas, you still find that though there are those discussions, that things happen in the operation that goes against what was agreed at the strategy meeting. For instance, on several occasions during the Christmas period, and this is most recent, the ATRs have been deployed to other Caribbean destinations, leaving Tobagonians stranded. And so you wonder sometimes how and when will the decisions be effected. And so that is what has caused me to be making the appeal for those matters to be sorted out as soon as possible. There is agreement that there will be the team, that it will be sorted out in the shortest possible time frame, but in the operation, things go very wrong.
I remember speaking with one local economist. He had indicated that he believes that tourism would be tremendously affected by the falling oil prices. I don't know if he wants to comment on this, and he also stated that in the Prime Minister's statement, she said little about tourism, how these oil prices would affect tourism in Tobago. Would you like to comment on this?
Well, I made a statement about the importance of tourism when you have falling oil prices, because tourism is that one area that can significantly generate foreign revenue, foreign currency. And so for me going forward is really to call on the central government to assist in ensuring that they facilitate tourism on the island as much as possible. Yes, you're very right. Outside of oil, there are other sectors that are of significant importance. In Tobago, we have tourism. In Trinidad, you have the manufacturing sector. And I, too, was very surprised that no mention was made about how the central government intends to give support and to bolster those sectors in a situation where you have declining oil prices. But we here in the Tobago House of Assembly are very focused. We will try our best with our limited resources to ensure we market the destination as much as possible, to ensure that we educate the citizenry as to the importance of tourism and, getting involved in the process, and more so that we continue to negotiate with the airlines to maintain, to increase, and to ensure that our stakeholders are on board with the process. So we will try to do our part to ensure that tourism remains important to the sector of Tobago, and we're really hoping that there will be the support from the central government, because we really have not heard anything from the Prime Minister in that regard.
Thank you for staying with us for the Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council Media Briefing for the week ending January 17th, 2014.